Hello and welcome to episode 40 of the Idiot Book Nook Book Club podcast. My name is Blazewing and my pronouns are she, her, and they, them.
I am the Reading Dragon, and my pronouns are she, her.
My name's Lady Punnet. My pronouns are primarily she, her, sometimes they, them. Today is a she, they kind of day.
Awesome. If you'd like to follow us on social media and see what we're up to, you can do so at lanktr.ee/Idiot Book Nook. You can find links to our website. You can find all of our socials. That's mine, the Reading Dragon, and Lady Punnet's socials. And you can find a link to all of our podcast feeds. You should be able to listen to our podcast theoretically right in our link tree, actually, where you can go check out our feeds. And you can also leave us voicemail messages over in our Anchor feed as well. Today, we are doing Chapter 24 of The Amulet of Samarkand, the first book in the Bartimaeus Trilogy. This is going to be episode 40 for us. We are 10 episodes away from episode 50, which is the halfway mark to episode 100.
Holy shit, guys.
Yeah, and, I mean, that, 100 episodes is huge, considering we release, 2 episodes a week, give or take.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's bloody huge. When did we start this podcast? Does anybody remember?
Well, considering the fact we're almost at episode 50, and we released about 2...
Well, don't forget, we also...
maybe at least 6 months?
I was going to say, we started off releasing 1 episode per week. And then we bumped it up to 2. Episode 0, Introduction, half-an-hour episode, was released February 2nd.
Dang.
So we've only been doing this for 5 months. Just shy of 5 months.
At least the literature part, I'm trying to see where we actually started doing Idiot Book Nook, because we also do, visual novels. Oh, goodness.
And so we will be getting back to the visual novels. We just got to kind of keep our stock going for the podcast so we don't run out of episodes for that. So if I go...
We got together in November.
We've been doing this since November. Shit. That means our 1 year is coming up, too, here in a couple of months.
Fuck!
Jesus Christ.
Hello.
Well then,
I'm not yet.
With that revelation...
Nugget! Stop!
Oh,
No!
yeah, I muted myself on stream and whatnot so they couldn't hear me there. But there's a very good chance I'll have to take that out of Craig's recording. That being said, I think we should duck into chapter 24 here. So, narrator, if you would, please.
The Bartimaeus Trilogy, Book 1, The Amulet of Samarkand. Written by Jonathan Stroud. Narrated by the Reading Dragon. Voice acted by the Reading Dragon, Blazewing 2010, and Lady Punnet. Chapter 24. Bartimaeus. Put a scarab beetle, roughly the size of a matchbox, up against a 4-meter-tall, bull-headed leviathan wielding a silver spear, and you don't expect to see much of a contest, especially when the beetle is imprisoned within a small orb that will incinerate its essence if it touches so much as a stray antenna. True, I did my best to prolong the issue by hovering just off the top of the pillar in the vague hope that I could dart to one side as the spear crashed down, but, to be honest, my heart wasn't really in it. I was about to be squashed by a lummox with the IQ of a flea, and the sooner we got it over with, the better. So, I was a little surprised when the Ituku's shrieking war cry was cut off by a sudden yelled command, just as the spear was about to be descended upon my head.
Bastuk, stop!
Eaglebeak.
Oh, sorry. That was Lady Punnet's line. My mistake.
Bastuk, stop!
Eaglebeak had spoken. The urgency in his voice was clear. Once it has made its mind up to do something, an Utuku finds it hard to change tack. Bullhead stopped the spear's downward swing with difficulty, but kept it raised high above the orb.
What
Thank goodness.
now, Xerxes?
He snarled.
Don't try to rob me of my revenge. 27 centuries I've wanted Bartimaeus in my power.
Then you can wait a minute more. He'll keep. Listen, can you hear something?
Batsuk cocked his head to one side. Within the orb, I stilled the humming of my wings and listened too. A gentle tapping sound. So low, so subtle. It was impossible to tell from which direction it came.
That's nothing, just workmen outside, or the humans marching again. They like doing that. Now shut up, Xerxes!
Batsuk was not inclined to spare the matter another thought. The sinews along his forearms knotted as he readied the spear.
It's not workmen. Too near.
The feathers on Xerxes' crest looked ruffled. He was jumpy.
Leave Bartimaeus alone and come and listen. I want to pinpoint it.
With a curse, Batsuk stomped away from my column. He and Xerxes ranged around the perimeter of the room, holding their ears close to the stones and muttering to each other to tread more quietly. All the while, the little tapping noise continued, soft, irregular, and maddeningly unlocatable.
Can't place it.
Batsuk scraped his spear tip against the wall.
Could come from anywhere. Hold on. Maybe he's doing it.
He looked evilly in my direction. Not guilty, Your Honor, I said.
Don't be stupid, Baztuk.
Eaglebeak said.
The orb stops him using magic beyond its barrier. Something else is going on. I think we should raise the alarm.
But nothing's happened!
Bullhead looked panicked.
They'll punish us. At least let me kill Bartimaeus first.
He pleaded.
I mustn't lose this chance.
I think you should definitely call for help, I advised. It's almost certainly something you can't handle. A death watch beetle, maybe, or a disoriented woodpecker. Bastook blew spume a meter into the air.
That's the last straw, Bartimaeus. You die!
He paused.
Mind you, it might be a Death Watch beetle, come to think of it.
In a solid stone building.
Xerxes sneered.
I think not.
What makes you an expert all of a sudden?
A new argument broke out. My two captors faced up to each other again, strutting and shoving, roused to blind fury by each other's stupidity, and by the occasional careful prompting from me. Underneath it all, the tapping went on. I had long since located the source of it as a patch of stone high up along the wall, not too far from the single window. While encouraging the squabble, I kept a constant eye on this area, and was rewarded, after several minutes, by spying a discreet shower of stone dust come trickling out between two blocks. A moment later, a tiny hole appeared. This was rapidly enlarged as more dust and flakes dropped from it, propelled by something small, sharp, and black. To my annoyance, after walking their way around the room in a flurry of girly slaps and yells, Xerxes and Baztuk had come to rest not far from this mysterious hole. It was only a matter of time before they would notice the spiraling dustfall, so I decided I had to risk all in a final gambit. "Hey, you pair of sand-eaters!" I shouted. "The moon shines on the corpses of your fellows. The jackals carry home the severed heads of their pups to play with."
Well, this loses something in translation, of course. I shouted it in the language of old Egypt, which both of them knew and hated. It was a reference to the time when the pharaoh sent his armies deep into the lands of Assyria, causing general mayhem. It is deeply impolite for Jinn to bring up between... Stop it. It is deeply impolite for Jinn to bring up between themselves the memories of human wars, in which we were always forced to take sides. Reminding Utukuk of wars that they lost is both impolite and deeply unwise.
The Utuku.
Sorry, I have a cat trying to eat me.
You're good.
It's fine. As I had expected, Baztuk instantly left off tugging at Xerxes' side feathers, and Xerxes prized his feathers out of Baztuk's nose. Both of them slowly turned toward me, with murder in their eyes. So far, so good. I calculated that I had approximately 30 seconds before whatever was coming through the hole put in an appearance. Should it delay, I was dead. If not by the hands of Baztuk and Xerxes, then by the orb, which had now diminished to the size of a runty grapefruit.
Baztuk,
Xerxes said politely.
I shall allow you to strike the first blow.
That is good of you, Xerxes.
Baztuk replied.
Afterward, you may dice the remains to your heart's content.
Oh boy, both hefted their spears and strode toward me. Behind them, the tapping suddenly ceased, and from the hole in the wall, which had by now grown quite large, a shiny beak poked out, sharp as an anvil. This was followed by a tufted jet black head, complete with beady eye. The eye flicked rapidly to and fro, taking in the scene. Then, silently, the bird behind it began to squeeze its way through the hole, wriggling forward in a distinctly unbird-like way. With a shake and a hop, an enormous black raven perched on the lip of the stone. As its tail feathers cleared the hole, another beak appeared behind it. By now, the Utuku had reached my pillar. Baztuk flung back his arm. I coughed. Look behind you.
That won't work on me, Bartimaeus.
Baztuk cried. His arm jerked forward. The spear began to plunge. A flash of black shot across its path, seized the spear shaft in its beak, and flew onward, wrenching it out of the Utuku's hand. Baztuk gave a yelp of astonishment and turned. Xerxes spun around too. A raven sat on a vacant column, holding the spear neatly in its beak. Uncertainly, Baztuk stepped toward it. Oh boy. Wouldn't regret that one. With deliberate care, the raven bit down on the steel shaft. The spear snapped in two. Both halves fell to the ground. Baztuk stopped dead. Good boy. But another raven fluttered down and came to rest on a neighboring pillar. Both sat silently, watching the Utuku with unblinking eyes. Baztuk looked at his companion.
Xerxes.
Eaglebeak rattled his tongue warningly.
Raise the alarm, Baztuk,
he said.
I'll deal with them.
He bent his legs, leaped high into the air. With a sound like ripping cloth, his great white wings unfolded. They beat once, twice. He soared up, up almost to the ceiling. The feathers angled, tensed. He spun and dived, head first, wings back, one hand holding the outstretched spear, hurtling down at lightning speed toward a raven, calmly waiting. A look of doubt came into Circe's eyes. Now he was almost upon the raven, and still it hadn't moved. Doubt was replaced by sudden fear. His wings jerked out, desperately. He tried to bank, to avoid colliding. The raven opened its beak wide. Xerxes screamed. There was a blur of movement, a snap and a gulp. A few fluttering feathers drifted slowly down upon the stones around the pillar. The raven still sat there, a dreamy look in its eyes. Xerxes was gone. Baztuk was making for the wall where the portal would appear. He was fumbling in a pouch strapped to his waist. The second raven lazily hopped from one pillar to another, cutting him off. With a cry of woe, Baztuk hurled his spear. It missed the raven, embedding itself to the hilt in the side of the pillar. The raven shook its head sorrowfully and spread its wings. Baztuk wrenched his pouch open and removed a small bronze whistle. He set it to his lips. Another blur. A whirlwind, too, swift to follow. Credit to him, Baztuk was fast. I glimpsed him lowering his head, lashing out with his horns, and then the whirlwind had engulfed him. When it ceased, so had Baztuk. He was nowhere to be seen. The raven landed awkwardly on the ground, green blood oozing from one wing. Inside its orb, the scarab beetle skittered about. "Well done!" I called, trying to make my voice a little less high and piping. "I don't know who you are, but how about getting me?" My voice trailed away. Thanks to the orb, I could see the newcomers only on the first plane, where, up until now, they'd worn their raven guise. Perhaps they realized this, because suddenly, for a split second, they displayed their true selves to me on the first plane. It was only a flash, but it was all I needed. I knew who they were. Trapped in the orb, the beetle gave a strangled gulp. "Oh," I said. "Hello."
"Hello, Bartimaeus,"
Farquhar said.
And thus ends...
Fuck!
Yeah. And thus ends chapter 24 of the Amulet of Samarkand. And just before we get started, as you guys know, I've been sitting here with my university's spring convocation open, and my friend has actually just walked across the stage. So congratulations to my friend on her graduation from university.
Congratulations!
Brava.
I am super, super proud of you for that.
So we got a bit of lore in this chapter that apparently it's in bad form to bring up past wars, since past human wars, since demons were often forced to take sides in that. And it's especially unwise to bring up past wars that Utukuk have lost.
Is it reading as Utukuk on your end?
I don't know. I'm just pronouncing it how I
It's
think it is
Utuku.
pronounced.
Utukuk.
That. They're dead now, so it doesn't matter.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Also, should we be slightly concerned how easy it is for, like, demons to break in to Parliament?
Kind of. Because this is
Like-
second and third.
I want to know, A, how Faquarl knew that Bartimaeus was here, and B, why Faquarl is rescuing Bartimaeus, especially after their last meeting. I know that they said that the allegiances change based on the jobs that the demons have and, you know, who their masters are at the time. But let's not forget that Bartimaeus gave Faquarl, like, quite the slip last time, and may have actually damaged him with that with the bit of wreckage that was left behind.
My theory is Lovelace heard that a demon had been caught and heard the stories, and it's like, yes, I'm going to need that to be done in private, so you two go get him.
Yep.
So you're thinking Lovelace is rescuing Bartimaeus. Now, here's the question. Is it to show up Underwood, or is Lovelace serving... Is there another purpose that Lovelace is doing this for?
I
think...
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Go
You first.
ahead. No, you.
Okay, fine. I think Lovelace heard from Pin about this thing and is like, I need to get this out before it reveals that I had the Amulet of Samarkand, since it was asking questions about it. So I think this is purely self-serving, and he doesn't care about Underwood in the slightest.
That's what I was thinking too.
Trying to save his own skin.
Because think about it, he could easily reveal, hey, if I tell you who originally stole the Amulet of Samarkand, can I go?
That's fair. We do know that Lovelace is self-absorbed, at least from what we've seen of him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I can't play devil's advocate for him until we get a bit more information from him.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, Lovelace could potentially also prove to be a foil for Nathaniel, because we've seen he is super arrogant.
Oh, yeah. What if Lovelace and Underwood are two sides of the same kind of coin that represents Nathaniel's future?
Interesting thought. Expand on that.
So, in the last episode, the last chapter that we touched on, we talked about how Underwood could be a foil to Nathaniel in terms of one of the outcomes of Nathaniel's future should he continue down the path that he's currently on. Another possibility is that Nathaniel is brought into question by Parliament and whatnot, and they decide to effectively, for lack of better phrasing, give him the kind of punishment that would be considered a slap on the wrist, because they would see that he is proving himself better than his own master. And with Underwood's current standing socially as is, it might bring into the possibility of other magicians being like, hey, so this dude Underwood, he doesn't really have control over his apprentice, yet his apprentice is skilled and willful enough to go on his own and become a greater magician than even he is. He summoned a fucking level 14 djinn. At what, 12? How old is Nathaniel now?
Nathaniel's 11.
11, yeah, at 11 years old, summoning a level 14 djinn, a demon. So other magicians might want to take him on.
I think, expanding on that theory a bit, even though Lovelace wasn't mentioned in this, I think that Underwood and Lovelace are examples, similar to what you said, of what Nathaniel could become, where Lovelace, or Underwood, is an example of what would happen if you let... I think Underwood is an example of being slighted by demons and being extremely cautious towards them, to the point where he doesn't want to advance further in his own studies for fear of what could happen to himself and others. Whereas Lovelace is an example of he doesn't care much about himself, or he doesn't care about others, so long as he can continue and make himself more important and righteous.
Yeah. There is the elements of what happens if you let fear take over, and what happens if you let your arrogance take over.
Interesting.
So they're basically two sides of very extreme coins.
Both reflections of Nathaniel.
Mm.
Interesting thought. I don't know where to go from that.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, we can't really go any further because we don't know Lovelace's motivations. We don't know why he wanted the Amulet of Samarkand. We don't know what the Amulet of Samarkand does.
There was one bit
We know
that was revealed.
it's protection of some sort.
Yeah, a protection.
We
but
know
from
that it
what?
absorbs magic. Because was it Bartimaeus had the amulet on him? Somebody tried to throw something at him. I think it was the sentry outside the room that he picked it up from, and it actually absorbed whatever was thrown at him.
Yeah.
We don't know how further that is, though. We don't know why Lovelace wanted it.
Yeah.
Because it's apparently a big deal that he stole it.
Well,
We don't know why he...
the impression that we've been given about the Amulet of Samarkand is this is a big ticket item.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is something that's like extremely rare and potentially one of a kind, and has been around for quite some time, which means long lived. And I'm wondering if it I'm wondering if it gets stronger, stronger with the more time that passes.
So you think it's kind of like... maybe not a great example, but kind of like in the My Hero Academia, the quirk, All for One.
I've never seen
Where...
My Hero Academia.
I have.
Okay, so basically, the quirk that All for One is a power that's passed on to each generation, and each generation, it's a stockpile power.
Yeah. Basically.
Each user gets stronger due to the previous ones, to the point where the current user, Izuku Midoriya, when he first gets it, he can't handle it because his bones break
Every time
just
he
from him
uses
using
it
it because it's so powerful.
Yeah, but you also have to remember that he didn't have a quirk to begin with, or at least like his quirk was like late bloomer type, which kind of makes me wonder how All for One became a thing in the first place. But
Maybe
that
that's a discussion for like
yeah,
anime talk.
yeah,
But
anime talk discussion. But basically, going back to the book, this also kind of brings back the theory that we were having about Lovelace when it comes to the rebels and those that oppose Parliament. What if that has to do with trying to bring down Parliament? Because if you remember the explosion that happened in the Parliament meetup, had Lovelace had the Amulet of Samarkand on him at the time, who's to say that something else would have happened?
Who's to say he wouldn't have absorbed some of the damage
Exactly.
or some of the magic? What if what if Lovelace knew that explosion was coming, and that's why he wanted the amulet? What if he's attached to the thieves?
That's kind of why I kind of put out there, what if Lovelace was involved with those rebels somehow?
it's a possibility.
Especially
but we
with
don't have proof.
No, we don't.
That's-
We're theorizing
no.
at the moment.
theorizing, especially with the way that Jonathan Stroud wrote as to how Lovelace had been reacting throughout anything regarding the rebels.
Yep.
When he was in the room.
Interesting.
Yeah. Especially during the Parliament incident where Lovelace actually made himself presentable again and collected himself to be the helpful sort and gave comfort where he could until what's his name? The minister or the prime minister?
Prime Minister.
Yeah, the prime minister could reappear. Basically acting as a what's it called? What's
Hero?
that? Not hero. Almost like it's that term that was used in the Harry Potter books where McGonagall took over as headmaster for a temporary
Figurehead?
Not figurehead. It's when the commanding officer is out of commission, and so the next in command has to acting. Yeah, deputy. That's the word I'm looking for. Deputy, like deputy prime minister.
Okay, that's fair.
So
I do want to point out, though, that You say he made himself look presentable.
Yeah.
Going a bit into Dungeons and Dragons lore, there is a cantrip that parasitation that literally makes you look presentable with a flick of your hand.
It's a basic glamour
Pretty
spell.
much. Yep.
Basic. Who's to say that he didn't do that and was in shock?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because think about it, when you're in shock, you act like you're fine, you're normal. Sometimes your thinking's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Who's to say he didn't break down later?
Probably. These will definitely be things to look into.
Yep.
As we continue this book.
Absolutely. Well, I'm thinking this is a good place to wrap this chapter up. So thank you very much for joining us for episode 40 of the Amulet, for episode 40 of the Idiot Book Nook podcast and chapter 24 of the Amulet of Samarkand. If you want to follow us on social media, you can do so at lanktr.ee/idiotbooknook, where you can find all of our socials, a link to our website, and a link to our podcast feeds, including Anchor, where you can leave us a voice message for potential viewer feedback episodes. And you can also get in touch with us if we are currently not on your favorite podcast feed and you would like to see us. We would love to be able to expand our reach. Thank you for posting that in the chat. Yeah, guys, this has been good. I think we're getting into it now. Like we're getting somewhere. We're like halfway through the book we're over halfway through the book at this point. So I can't wait to see where this goes.
And we're 10 episodes away from our 50th.
Absolutely, that's huge. We got to figure out what we're doing for our 50th. I have no idea what we want to do.
We should wear fancy hats.
We should.
People on the podcast wouldn't be able to see that though.
Well, a lot of the stuff is usually visual because unfortunately we all don't live in the same area.
No, I know we don't, but that doesn't mean we can't figure something out. It'll take a bit of thinking. We're going to have a few recording sessions before we get there anyways, so we've got some time. But, sorry, go ahead.
It would be really cool if we are able to get fan questions and listener questions and emails and stuff.
That would be cool.
For our
Maybe a
150th.
Q&A.
I'd love to do something like that for the 50th. So.
That'd be really cool.
But
we just need to expand our audience first.
Absolutely. We're getting there. Give it time. With that being said, guys, thank you very much for joining us for episode 40 of the Idiot Book Nook podcast. My name is Blazewing.
I am the Reading Dragon.
I'm Lady Punnet.
And we will see you guys for episode 41 and chapter 25 of the Amulet of Samarkand. Peace out.
Bye.